Okay, so I simmed through the fifth year season fairly quickly. I didn't do the thing where I stopped to record and share some stuff because this was the year where, for the most part, I let the roster sit as it was. I didn't really want to sell any pieces. I didn't necessarily want to add anything either. I just wanted to see how this team would do without really any major changes, other than sort of sending people up and down on occasion and making some minor lineup changes when it was needed. We did improve upon last season. We had the same number of wins, 39, but we we lost three more games in overtime or shootout. So we ended up with we improved from 86 points to 89 points, which is not the best. But here's what I'm thinking. I think next year is the year we go for it, and the reason for that is, first of all, our second overall pick, Matvey Michkov, um, he's coming over next season, and he's already got, at age 20 wrist shots. So I'm really excited to introduce Michkov into the lineup. Also, our goaltender that we drafted in the first round, Sergei Litvinov, another Russian. Um, I started him off in the minors. By the end of the season, he was playing full time, and he ended with a 928 over only 34 games. But still, I think he could just be our starter next year, or at very least a 1A, 1B with Nedeljkovic. We still have three goalies on our roster, and that's because I couldn't decide what I wanted to do, so I just kept all of them around. But I think Nedeljkovic is younger than Drieger, I think. Yeah, he's younger than Drieger. He's got better attributes for the most part, and he seems to have this thing where he starts the season slow. He ended with a 906, and Drieger at a 904. I'm not taking any of their results for this season to be sort of a solid representation of how good they are, just because I was running three goalies. So there were stretches of times where one of them would just not play for an extended period of time. But I think I'm going to, once trading resumes, I'm going to finally trade Chris Drieger, stop carrying three goalies on my team, and we're going to go forward like that. And I've got, hopefully, Pinelli, Sillinger, Lysell, some of these guys, maybe some of the other guys will be ready to step up next year. Lambo is, I had up because he was filling in for some injuries, but I'm not really sure he's NHL ready yet. But I'm hoping next season Lambos or more. Or actually, one guy that I was impressed by was this guy, Christian Jimenez, who his attributes don't look that great, but he had a 724. I played him in the top four, and he was solid. But anyways, I'll show the statistics overall. I'll sort by AVR. Meyer didn't have as good a season as he did last year, but still very, very good. Yeah, Litvinov was at the top. He was fantastic. Josh Anderson had a great season, and I think that trade was worth it. Anderson was great. Meyer and LeBanc were good as always. Eric Carlson still solid. Edvinson still doing very well. Klingberg still solid. Weisblatt still doing pretty well. Although, I mean, Weisblatt in the top six, he may end up being the one that gets kicked out of the top six when Michkov arrives, but we'll see. Merkley, I still want to see more out of, but he was okay. Mikheyev was kind of so-so. Eventually, like he ended up on the fourth line, I think, at one point. But Mikheyev, I extended him. I extended most of our players. I think Mikheyev can be solid going forward. Olesen was up to fill in for, well, to essentially fill in for some veterans that I really wasn't impressed by and ended up healthy scratching. Um, yeah, Olesen, I think we're looking to have develop more. Might start next season in the AHL. Although he does look quite promising going forward. Same for Lambos. Mellon had a near the start of the season. Mellon had a hot stretch where he scored like 6 goals in the span of a few games, but he might end up being in the AHL to the start of next season to develop. You may notice we have Nils Holglander. I claimed him off waivers at one point. His his attributes are not what you'd expect of Holglander, but he's all right. He's okay to fill in at certain points. He scored some key goals. Whatever. Niku, we also got off waivers. He had a disappointing year. Appleton, who we got for 2/4 last offseason, he had some good moments. He mostly played in the bottom six, but he was all right. Madenstein was a call up. Um, Yeah, Maddenstein was a call-up to fill in for some injuries on defense. I don't think he's NHL ready just yet. Um, yeah, John Graham and William Eklund as centers. Their AVRs are not going to be great. That's just how the game works. But a good season from John Graham, 62 points. That is, I think, very good for a 20-year-old. Eklund had a bit of a down season in terms of points, but still 24 goals. Would like to see more of him out of him going forward, but that's okay for now. He's what, 22? But his attributes have been noticeably improving, and I think he is a solid top six center and could be our first line center long term going forward. But very good breakout season from John Graham as well, so that's good. Yeah, Athanasio and Elias Anderson weren't terribly impressive. I thought about flipping one of them, but first of all, I didn't want to get rid of them entirely and force one of our prospects to play before they were ready. But also, we just don't need more picks at this point. Like, we just don't need to draft more players because we've got so many players on a reserve list, more guys coming. We just don't need those picks. We may as well keep the people like Athanasiou and Anderson. Plus, at one point, I was icing a line with Josh Anderson and Elias Anderson, so that's good. Anyways, as far as who's coming back and who's not, I'll show you the status of our contracts. Athanasiou, I'm letting walk just because he's just hasn't been that impressive. He did well last season after we traded for him. This year, not quite as impressive. I'm just going to let him walk. And I re-signed everybody else. And our draft picks, we have Carolina's first, if I remember right. I don't even remember which trade we got that from, but we have Carolina's first, which is good because our pick isn't as likely to win the lottery because we were sort of. By the way, we missed by 94 points is reasonable for the final playoff spot. It's not that strong, but it's reasonable. We missed by 5 points. What are the overall standings? So we finished 17th in the league. We would have made the playoffs in the East. Fuck. I want playoffs. We would have made it in the East. That's annoying. But anyway, we finished 17th in the league, but Carolina finished 28th. So we've got chances to win the lottery with Carolina's first. So we've got reason to be optimistic for next year, and next year might just be the year. And I'm thinking we also have all these seconds and all these thirds. I might trade some of them for. I might just. I'm thinking about packaging all these seconds and just sending them to some team to get a really good player, and hopefully we can go all in next year. Not all in, but hopefully we can make the playoffs. Maybe even do more than just be a bubble team next year. So that's the plan. We're going to go to the draft and then free agency. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about either of those. I don't have big plans for free agency unless there's someone available I really wanted. I was offering more people in the first couple of years when I really had roster spots to fill and when I really had just too much cap room. This past year, I only offered one player who I didn't get, so I didn't get anything from free agency. And unless there's someone that really entices me, I don't have big plans for free agency this year. And like I said, I am thinking about just trading a bunch of my draft picks. So I don't have that. I don't have big plans for the draft either, but we do have chances to win the lottery, so there is that. So I'm not sure much will happen this offseason. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to next year, seeing what we can do. Okay, also, our AHL team, the San Jose Barracuda, have officially won the Calder Cup. They only lost one game in the playoffs. It helped that we got to send, after the NHL season ended, we sent Litvinov down, and let's check out how he did in the playoffs. Yeah, 9-21 in the playoffs, and they went 55-7-6 in the regular season. They just crushed their division. They only lost one game in the playoffs. So hopefully some of the Calder Cup winning alumni can come up and kill it for us in the NHL next year. So here's where we're at right now this offseason. The draft came and went. We got the 5th overall pick with Carolina's first. We drafted some guys who will either be good or they'll be future trade bait. And in free agency, There were some. Leon Draisaitl went to free agency. Nikolai Ehlers went to free agency. I think John Tavares went to free agency as well. Um, I didn't offer for any of them. They all wanted like 10, $11 million for a bunch of years, which is fair. But like I've kind of got my team together, and it would require selling off some guys probably to comfortably fit this under the cap, especially when some of my young stars want raises. I did sign Brock Nelson as a depth center. I offered a contract to Jeff Petrie as well. Nelson is 33. I gave him 1 year. Petrie is like 37. His physical stats are going, but they're still kind of there. So I offered him 1 year at like $2 million. And I did something else. What did I do? Oh, I traded Chris Drieger to Vegas for 2 firsts and a second. I wanted to get a left shooting defenseman, but the teams that wanted Drieger seemingly really badly were Winnipeg and Vegas. Winnipeg, they weren't willing to give me like Morrissey or Pionk or any of those guys. So I tried to get Ville Heinola, whose attributes weren't all that good. But they seemed to think they outright told me they thought he was going to be a franchise defenseman, which I don't know about that. Like he's 24, and if you look at his attributes, I mean, solid defenseman. I wanted him, but I'm not going to pay them for him like they think he's a franchise defenseman. So that didn't happen. I couldn't find a defenseman I liked from Vegas that wasn't either Petrangelo, Theodore, or there was someone else. Those were all untouchable. I would have liked them if I could have gotten them, but I wasn't going to be able to get them. So I just traded Drieger for 2 firsts and a second, which could be trade bait later if we're doing well at the deadline. So I want to make this very clear. If we miss the playoffs again, like the first years were fine, young players were showing progress, but now this year is the year. We've got Mishkov now. We've got, still have Klingberg and Carlson. We've got first pair Simon Edvinsson. We've got a potential superstar 21-year-old goalie. We've got Eklund and Graham. Weisblatt is great. Still have Meyer, LeBanc, Josh Anderson, all those guys. If we miss the playoffs, the whole coaching staff is gone. Or at least I need to seriously reevaluate it. I am expecting big things from this roster this year.